Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today on this video, we're doing a little bit of a Z-Man Monday, but I've already done videos on this bait in particular, but since it's the winter time, and I feel like there's some qualities of the bait that's in question that we're going to be talking about that really make it well suited for wintertime fishing, I wanted to revisit the topic. So we're going to be talking about the Tungsten EVO that came out this last ICAST 2024. And I actually have had a couple prototypes of the Tungsten EVO for a year prior to that. So the previous October, I got a couple and got to fish them for almost a year. And so I've grown to really love this chatterbait. And I've mentioned that in previous videos where I talked about it. I didn't think that the difference would be that big between a traditional lead head version of the EVO and the tungsten version, but really there's two main things that are very, very different. Number one, less water resistance because the head is smaller per the weight of the chatterbait than traditional lead, and then also the sound difference. And those two qualities right there make it one of my favorite choices for cooler or colder water. And I figured that out pretty soon after getting those prototypes, is that number one, the lower water resistance, just because the head is smaller per the size of the chatterbait. For instance, like the 3/8 ounce version is notably smaller than the 3/8 ounce version in the lead head, which means that bait does not want to climb to the surface near as easy. If you fish with, like, say, a traditional EVO or a jackhammer, the 3/8 ounce version does not like getting deep. It really does want to stay pretty shallow. In fact, really the only time I reach for a 3/8 ounce version is if I'm fishing like 2 or 3 feet of water. And in 2 or 3 feet of water, it's perfect. But for like that 5-foot range, if say I wanted to like slow things down a little bit like you do during the winter time or the pre-spawn, so I wanted to have a slower presentation but still get down to like that 4-foot range. I couldn't accomplish that really very easily with a traditional lead head 3/8 ounce, and the 1/2 ounce required me to reel it a little bit faster, especially if there's grass growing, you need to keep it above that grass or just ticking the tops of it. But the Tungsten EVO allowed me to slow roll that bait and still get down to that like 4-foot range, which is perfect for like 5 foot of water, especially if you got like grass growing up, a foot from the bottom. Again, I'm just giving you scenarios where I've found the tungsten to be useful as far as depth ranges. Now, of course, if you're fishing 8 foot of water, a 1/2 ounce version of either is probably going to serve you better. So it really just depends on what depth you're fishing and what speed you want that bait to go at in that depth. But that is definitely something to consider, is if you're looking for a slower presentation but one that will get down to the right depth, you can manipulate that a little bit differently with the tungsten version versus a lead. I'm not saying in this video at all that you should get rid of your lead-headed chatterbaits. The original EVO and the jackhammer and all the other chatterbaits in the Z-Man lineup are awesome, but the tungsten definitely has some really good applications, and the lower resistance, the lower drag in the water, and how it relates to digging a little bit deeper is definitely one of the big reasons why you might want to go to the Tungsten EVO. The other reason why I think it's a really good wintertime bait is because of the sound profile. Is that lead or tungsten is way more dense than lead. It has a more distinct clacking sound, which we all know because we've been, the hard bait companies have been, switching over to tungsten for certain models to get a different sound for a long time. Lipless crankbaits, that's definitely a category where they've utilized the harder tungsten material to create a different sound profile in their like lipless crankbaits and things like that. Same thing with the chatterbait. There's no rattle in here, but the head to blade contact really creates a unique sound that those fish haven't heard before with a chatterbait. It's a similar vibration profile that the fish feel with their lateral line, but the sound profile is very different because it's a different material. So during the wintertime, the reason why sound is so important to me is because this is a time period where we get a lot of rain. This is a very wet time period where you've got a lot of runoff, and in general, the water is dirtier. Now, that's not always true, but a lot of times the areas that I like to fish, they're very dingy. They're very dirty, and they have low visibility. So I want a bait that creates a sound, and I want to have different options as far as the sound profile to, you know, say I go in and fish an area that has a bunch of fish, catch a bunch of fish on like a traditional lead head chatterbait. Okay, if I know that there's still fish there and I want to go back through, I'm not going to use the same bait in general. I'm going to come back with a different sounding bait, and that's why the Tungsten EVO may be a better option when you go through. Conversely, if you're just going through an area once and you know that it's already been pressured by other anglers, using something that hasn't been heard before can be a big deal. So anyways, guys, just wanted to do a real brief video kind of sharing my thoughts on the two big differences that you're going to find fishing the Tungsten EVO versus a lead-headed EVO or a lead-headed EVO or any other chatterbait on the market. And also, if you're interested in purchasing the Tungsten EVO, we've got the Tackle Warehouse affiliate links in the description below. That is not only a great way to get direct access to this bait on Tackle Warehouse, but it's also a great way to support this channel if you enjoy this content. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any questions about the EVO or any other topic, drop a comment below in the comment section. Other than that, I'm going to see you out on the water. Make sure you trust the process.